Hello, freaks. How's it going? I've actually been chatting on Facebook with the daughter of Cheryl Coker. And we've got some interesting new information. So it might be slower the way I'm going to go through it, because I'm just going to go back over and review the comments and then bring up the things that we've talked about. I've also talked to one of her the neighbors, and there was somebody else that used to live there, but I'm going to mainly focus in on the information that was given to me by the neighbor and one of the daughters. Okay, and it's the older daughter, and she did say I could use her name, and her name is Marissa Coker. I mean, you guys have all probably looked up who the daughters are and everything. I don't want you guys putting the name of the younger daughter in the chat. Okay, the one that was dropped off at school is the younger daughter. Don't put it in there. If you've put it in there already, delete it. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why you'd be hearing an echo. I don't have any. I think right when I started, I had the microphone and the speaker on at the same time, but I turned it off immediately. All right, now a few sort of informational updates. Somebody on YouTube said that I had the surveillance area wrong, and I did have it wrong. I think it used to be in this building, because that's where, when you type in the address, it goes here. But they moved to right here. Okay? So they literally are... Let me turn this music down a little bit. Jeez. I think that this computer network store is now the surveillance company right here. Okay? And if you look at the video, let's see if we can watch some of this.
My whole life, 50.
Was last seen. It drove into a spot back there, and the entire thing was captured by this camera. But right now, police are frustrated by what it didn't capture.
I've been here my whole life, 58 years, and I've never heard of anything like this, ever.
Joe Rumley works at the surveillance store where...
Okay. Now look, see this brick right here? Maybe we can just look at the door. And maybe I need to adjust it slightly. I haven't looked at it yet, but I think that's it. Okay? Look at the bricks. You got the little ones, these ones, and then up here, the door. Everything's the same as this picture right here. See? It even says computer network accessory. So I guess that literally even has the same name. Just reading that, though, you wouldn't think that was a surveillance store. Okay? So... I think it used to be in that other building, and now it's here. So he literally was right next to the Clancy's Tavern right here. So he was right there and right there. So he probably took care of the surveillance, or they just said, hey, can you check out our surveillance? We've got it right here. All right? Okay. Now the new information that I have is very interesting. Okay, so Marissa Coker is the older daughter. She served in the military and is 20. Oh, somebody's subscribing. Sorry about that. Basketball memories. All right. Yeah, she served in the military, and she gave me some information about this, her mother and other information. All right, so it might take me a minute because I have to scroll through it. I'm not going to talk about everything that we talked about. Okay, now they too suspect that maybe her husband, current husband, is involved. Now, she's been married to this same person, William Coker, for 19 years, And I was told that Cheryl filed for divorce because William was seeing somebody for over a year now, somebody on the side. Okay, so now we're starting to get some of these familiar pieces of information. He's been seeing somebody for a year on the side. She filed for divorce on, looks like September 21st. All right. Now, I also spoke to the neighbor and also speaking to Marissa, and they verified each other's information, or at least the neighbor told Marissa exactly what Marissa told me. Now, the neighbor was at near the house. I don't know exactly where, but she saw on the day that that Cheryl went missing, she saw that there was 2 cars parked in this driveway right here. One, and this is at 10:39 in the morning. One was Cheryl's car, and the other was her husband's car, the person that she was going to get divorced from, who she filed divorce papers from. And if you look at the driveway now, you see how there's grass on the side there and a driveway. I was thinking, well, gosh, how would they both fit there? And the neighbor said that they paved it out to the right wider. Okay, so if we look at Google Earth here, and look at that. See how the pavement goes out further? And this is August 2016. The pavement goes out further, so both cars can fit on there. Now, they were both parked face in. And what's strange about this is that's 10:39. At 10:48, her car is being moved into that parking lot that we were looking at near Kroger's and the Clancy's Tavern right here. So at 10:48, that's when we see the car being pulled into here. Just 9 minutes after the neighbor had witnessed those cars in the driveway. Now, she knows the exact time because she checked her phone's Google Maps, and that's when she left. So she's got it down to, the exact minute that she saw. I guess she was on her way to work. I believe that's what she told me. And she saw both the cars parked in that driveway. So now we're getting into a more nefarious, ominous realm at this point. Right? Unfortunately. And I think they're both watching right now. So if they want to say something, they can say something to fix anything that I'm saying. Let me go through my notes again and check to see what else there is. The daughter said that she does know of a few instances where he put her hands on Cheryl, where the husband actually put her hands on her. And yes, again, 19 years. So this person, William Coker, is not the biological father of Marissa, but is the biological father of the younger sister that was dropped off at 7:30 at school. Let's see. And, he does have a girlfriend currently. I have the name, but I'm not going to put it out there. The first name. Just looking at some notes here. So basically, I think that's the gist of the update. It's pretty. I think it kind of confirms some of the things that we were talking about or theorized on originally. All right, maybe I'll go play the surveillance, this video again. This video is pretty interesting.
It's Clancy Burke joining us live from Riverside with where police are. Tonight we have new video in the case of a missing woman from Riverside. 46-year-old Cheryl Coker was last seen Tuesday morning, and now surveillance footage we just obtained is only raising more questions than answered. Fox 45's Clancy Burke joining us live from Riverside with where police are in this investigation tonight. Clancy.
Well, Adam, Riverside police have hit a bit of a dead end. This is the parking lot where Cheryl Coker's car was last seen. It drove into a spot back there, and the entire thing was captured by this camera. But right now, police are frustrated by what it didn't capture.
I've been here my whole life, 58 years, and I've never heard of anything like this, ever.
Joe Rumley works at the surveillance store where Cheryl Coker's car was found. It pulled in 10:48 Tuesday morning, 3 hours after police say she was last seen.
The vehicle was locked, but all of her personal belongings remained inside the car.
From this parking spot, you can see Clancy's Tavern, and Clancy's Tavern can see you.
We were excited. We thought we actually were going to be able to see what took place.
Hours of surveillance from that day, but the problem is what that video shows and what it doesn't.
The car comes in, looks like it's going to park there, and then it changes its mind, and then comes up and pulls into a parking space right there.
And then the footage jumps a full minute. The camera was set up to motion record, not constantly record.
It's right there.
And
Excuse me, I had the mic off. Yesterday I had it wrong. I thought that the person just came from that direction, but when you watch this closely, I was just talking to the sister about it and the neighbor, that if you you can see the door of the surveillance store shutting as he's walking by. So watch this.
And
Right-
then the footage
right here.
jumps a full
Right there.
minute.
See
The
that?
camera was set up to motion record.
So you can see that shutting. Now, is it possible that somebody just went in there and that person walked by? Sure. But I think that kind of shows that he was just coming out of the surveillance, the computer shop there.
Not constantly record, so you never actually see anyone get out of the car.
The car just basically sits there until I think Wednesday night at 8:30 when it was actually towed away by the police.
Whether or not Coker was in the car, no one knows. But police say what was in it.
Her cell phone, her ID, her credit card, her purse, all those types of items being left definitely added to the suspicion.
Did somebody kidnap Cheryl Coker?
That's what we're afraid of, but no one really knows at this point. Again, it's just very suspicious circumstances.
Police have spent hours looking at that footage, trying to see if they could find any clues that would help solve this case, but so far, nothing. However, they're not giving up, and they're going to continue searching. For now, live in Riverside, Clancy Burke, Fox 45 News.
Well, good morning. We begin this morning with Harper.
Yeah, second. Now, let's try to use some common sense now and logic. So here's where the Cheryl's home was, right? Or is, I guess. And there was two cars parked here facing that way. So it's reasonable now, given the timing of just 9 minutes, that something happened to Cheryl. Then somebody took the car with their purse, everything in it, and then parked it over here. Okay? And if we're going to speculate, you might think that the other person who parked their car in this driveway is the one that moved the car to this parking area, then maybe even walked back. It's not far at all. This is only a half mile. I mean, look at this. Let's just do a straight on crow's fly distance. It's not even a half mile as a crow flies. So maybe a little over a half mile walking, because you have to, you're not walking in a straight line, but basically, let's say just a little over half mile, might take 10 minutes or so. And let's say you get back to this home, then I hate to say this, but I'm thinking this is probably a pretty accurate scenario here. Just given that time, you come home and then maybe he backed the car back in after that and did something, took her somewhere else. Then he comes back, now her car is over here and she's somewhere totally different. Because now it appears that there isn't any long 3-hour driving time. her car, if it really was seen, I believe the witness here, at 10:39, that means she was in this area, most likely at that time. Unless, let's say, earlier he was backed in, took her somewhere, came back, drove in front first, that's what the neighbors saw. Then he takes her car over here, parks it, then walks back, and then drives away. So that's something possible too, that he did drive. He could have been there earlier before the neighbor witnessed that, right? He could have been there earlier, left, then came back. And perhaps the first time he was backed in. I don't know. I guess I'd have to get that information from, the neighbor. Are you guys, can you actually hear what I'm saying? I don't see any comments related to what or are you guys just listening? Well, it skipped because there was no motion, Carolina. That's how they work. If you have a motion camera set up, you aren't, if it's set to motion sensor, it has to have a certain amount of pixel shift to set off a motion event. And this is the same stuff that we talked about in the Kanika Jenkins case. So I don't want to get into the bullshit here where people go, oh, well, it must have been edited because they, I don't want to do any of that. It's just didn't record it because it was too far away. If you go back to the, let's see, let me load that back up again.
Tonight we have new video in the case of a missing.
From this parking spot.
We were excited. We thought what took place.
Hours of surveillance from that day. But
Actually, we're going to be.
Oh, yeah. So look at this camera shot right here. This right here is the overhang. Look, actually looks like a light. One of those fluorescent lights right there underneath the underhang of Clancy's Tavern. All right. So you go to Clancy's Tavern here. And you can see that right there. So those cameras you cannot see from this Google Earth camera. It's underneath there. And the car was parked basically in like number 7 is what I figured out when I counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Might even be 8, but right in this area they were parked. And the overhang cuts off. Like if you just walked in this direction, you would have been out of sight. If you walked this direction, they would have, it may not have even picked it up because it's so far away, right? So let's take a look at that again. See, look, if you walk that direction, it'd be such a small change that it wouldn't have set off the motion. If you notice, it only got set off again when there was a lady right there and a guy right there. So way over there isn't going to set off that motion sensor. Yeah, it's a pretty intriguing case. You still wonder, and Darrow was wondering if perhaps she just left her keys and so forth in her car, went in to change really quick to go to work. The daughter that I spoke to, Marissa, said that she normally would be at work at 8, but sometimes worked from home, and then would call in to say, hey, I'm going to be working from home, to her work. But Darrow was thinking maybe she left her keys in the car and purse and everything, went in to get something or change and then come back, but that's not, Marissa said that that's not what she would do, that she wouldn't leave her purse and everything in the car. So let's just say that those items were likely put into that vehicle when it was dropped, right before it was dropped off. And I think that was all just done intentionally to make it look like she walked away. Because let's say you put the car there and it only had her cell phone in it. Well, you'd say, well, where are her her keys and wallet and credit cards? Well, they're at home. Well, why would she do that? Wouldn't she always leave the home with that stuff? So whoever did this wants to make it look like she left intentionally and just walked away and is gone. All right, that's what they're trying to make it look like. I think it's pretty obvious at this point. And just based on talking to Marissa and other people, it doesn't sound like she's a person that would ever just leave like that. She's a good person, and this wouldn't be like her. Look, she was the one filing for divorce, right? She was the one that was going to move on. She had enough and was moving on. I don't think someone that files for divorce is going to be one of the people that just takes off and leaves kids around. You know, I don't think so. And right here, there's a wooded area right next to the house. But I think that after the younger daughter was dropped off at school, Stebbins High School over here, and then when she drove home, she was probably going to work from home that day. So let's say she goes inside the house, and this is right around 8. And then let's say the person who parked in the driveway there, the other person, went inside the house. I already said who that person was. Went inside the house, did something. Could have backed in even. Then drove her somewhere way away in an hour, drove back, parked the car there again to do some cleanup work inside the house. I think they need to get a forensic team in there to really comb over it. Do some cleanup. Takes her car, parks it over here with all of her purse and belongings because they were still in the house, and he wanted to put them over here to make it look like she took off. Then he walks back, gets into his truck, drives away. Okay? That's a scenario. The other scenario is that they were there the whole time, arguing and fighting or whatever they were doing. Something happened inside the house. He drove her car over here, walked back, then put her into his truck, then drove somewhere else after 10, like maybe around 11, 11 o'clock-ish, something like that. Maybe 11:15. All right, so that's where we're at with this story now. Is anybody interested in calling in at all? If not, that's okay too. I just really wanted to get this updated information out. I think it's important. And then maybe other people can come forward and say, I saw this guy. He was driving, I don't know what kind of truck he had though. Well, you can just watch it after it uploads, Mary. I am going to probably end the live here in a second, and maybe later. Well, I don't know. I think I'm going to watch a Blazer game tonight. I'm been putting a lot of videos out, a lot of time. Which, the teach. Oh, and the update on the teacher's case is it was ruled a suicide, just like we were saying. Okay. Do you remember that? Remember all the arguing I had with people when I said, I think she probably just left and killed herself, much like Timothy Cunningham. And everybody went, oh, come on. And that's exactly what happened. And I guess another update, that was really tragic about that, I don't know, DJR. The 20 people that were killed with that limousine accident, wasn't it? Jesus. I don't know if I'll make a video on that, but if it's a crime, I might do something like that. All right, everybody. I appreciate you showing up and joining me on this shorter live. But I didn't want to keep it extended for those people who don't want to watch a 2.5 hour live on an update. So I appreciate Marissa and the neighbor contacting me and giving me that information. It's really helpful to try to put together a theory. And thanks for that person on YouTube that corrected me on the location of the computer store. And yes, Daro was right when she said that he could have came out of one of the other shops and walked towards Clancy's pub and just walked on by, or tavern, whatever the hell you want to call it. All right, everybody. Thank you for showing up. And until next time, be safe out there.